Hello, good morning. I am back walking the trails at the Old Greenville Recreation Area this morning. Reptile is not with me. He got a job, so he's back to reality. We've been applying for jobs. I just haven't been able to acquire one. So I'm out here on trail this morning getting me some morning sun and a little activity in. So let's talk about the cost of trail. So we've gone over a few things, what it's cost in GPS and map services. Today, let's talk about town resupplies. So town resupply cost us about $600, a little over $600. We resupplied roughly, I think, 6 times, you will say 6 times. Not all of them were full resupplies because we did have some supply boxes sent out to us that we were just supplementing, but about 6 times. It averaged us about $100 each. And we were doing our resupplies pretty much at Ingalls when we were in Georgia and North Carolina, and then also at Dollar General, because Dollar Generals are just everywhere. The resupply at the Dollar General actually costs more than going to a grocery store. I don't know if it was the fact that they knew it was a hiker area, or if it was just a I don't know, just more, it costs more. You know, ramen that you would get at Walmart for 33 cents a pack, or whatever it is now, maybe it's 50 cents a pack, at the Dollar General, it would cost $1, $1.25. Some of them were like $1.80 if you got like the hot spicy ones. So if you're looking at penny pinching, sorry, I'm out of breath. So if you're looking at penny pinching, those types of items, and you're thinking it's going to cost you, you know, like $1.50 for a dinner, like a ramen bomb, it may actually cost you more like $3. So electrolytes were really important to us, and we did Element, Liquid IV. We had a Noon that we really didn't care for, so we didn't repurchase that one. And I think we did some Gatorade. Those Element packets were roughly $2.50 a piece. Liquid IV and Gatorade was anywhere between $1.50 and like $2. So if you're trying to do, say, 3 morning, lunch, and dinner to get an Element in, you could be looking at $7 to $8, $9, depending on where you bought them from. That can be very expensive, especially for 2 people. So we tried to supplement with some of the cheaper water flavoring brands that had a little bit of sodium in it. Might have had some vitamins like potassium, magnesium. Element was probably the best. I know if we had a really hard day, or if it was really hot that day, I would try to make sure I did an Element if we had it available, and that helped out a lot. It's just, the cost-wise, you wouldn't believe how much money we spent on electrolytes. Out of that $600 in resupply, I would say a good $50 of it was in electrolytes. And now I'm thinking about it, probably closer to $70 was in electrolytes. I'm sure there's other ways. I know you can go on the Element website and get their recipe and then order the supplies individually, probably from Amazon, and make your own Element packets. We did see a couple people who did that. That's not something that I'd even thought about doing. So I had bought some Liquid IV from Sam's Club in a bulk box before we went out, and had a lot of those shipped to us. But still, even on trail, we had to buy so much. And it added to the cost. We also did a little bit of chips. Not a whole lot. I know chips are very expensive when you try to take those on trail. So I would try to buy like the 2 bags for $1 at the Dollar General store. They don't add any nutritional value whatsoever. So if you want to go for the dietary viewpoint, chips probably aren't the best. There's a lot of other things that you could buy that have more nutrients. It's going to help fuel your body. But a lot of stuff that you have on trail is soft in texture, and you just want some crunch. So you work out with what you need with your resupplies, but that's what ours cost. About $600 for 6 resupplies, and a good probably 12 to 15% of that cost was just purchasing electrolytes. When we were at camp, I would often ask other hikers what their favorite trail food was. And so my favorite trail food was my trail pizzas. And they were actually pretty heavy to carry because a lot of times I was carrying a pound of cheese, a pound of tortillas, and 6 to 8 ounces of pepperoni. And for just a few days worth of food, basically. So my trail pizzas were just pepperoni, some kind of cheese, whether it be mozzarella, Parmesan, or cheddar, and then I would just get the a butterfly landed on me. I would get the burrito-sized tortillas, and they, again, you would have 14, 16 ounces of tortillas. Try to eat, and there's a 10 count, so that would last about 3 meals for my trail pizzas, and then we would use about 2 meals to make just peanut butter tortillas. And that was one of the things that Reptile carried a lot of, was the peanut butter, because he would get the 1 pound or 1.5 pound jars, and I've never seen anyone eat so much peanut butter on a tortilla before. So it was like an inch thick. So he definitely got his protein and fat that way. I prefer just to eat the cashews or the peanuts that usually accompanied my lunches. But those types of items, especially if we were like at Ingles and I could get something like Parmesan or a harder cheese that was going to hold up on trail, that cost a little more, and you could easily spend $5 or $6 just on the cheese. The backpacking bag meals were really hard for me to eat. They have a lot of meat in them, and I have a tendency not to eat a lot of meat, especially if it's not seasoned well. There was a couple of backpacking meals that were absolutely delicious, and I'm glad I did buy a lot of them before we left. Just try to stock up, get things that were on sale. Sierra Outdoor Store is a brand of like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and they actually had a huge selection of outdoor backpacking meals that were $4 to $5 less than if you were buying them from like REI. So we got quite a few of those and had those shipped out to us, which made things a lot more convenient, but also there's 2 servings in those, and I don't eat 2 servings. It was hard enough for me to eat on trail at all, much less eat a full backpack meal. Now that changed when we got towards the end of our trip, but probably the first 3 weeks of the trip, I might have been eating, I don't know, 1,000 to 1,300 calories a day. I was like trying to force myself to eat things that were high in calorie. So I think I might have said this before, but the tortillas at home, I'd always buy the extreme high fiber tortillas. They had like 35 calories in them, like 6 grams of fiber. On trail, I didn't care about that. I wanted the highest calorie count tortillas. So I think at one time I found a tortilla that had 140 calories in it per tortilla. So I would get those. I was not worried about getting anything that was diet or calorie reduced, fat reduced. Definitely ate a lot of peanuts because it was hard for me to get enough calories in and fat in throughout the day. And I could tell that in my first 2-3 weeks on trail, that after about 3 hours, I would just become absolutely exhausted. And yes, Georgia was hard, and there was a lot of ups and downs, elevation gain and descent. But part of that was also that our nutrition wasn't where it needed to be, adjusting to the trail. So some of our resupplies got a little bit more expensive because I was buying things like a whole bag of paydays, because I knew I could eat 3 paydays and it was going to be about 350 calories, the little snack size paydays, not the full size. So I'd eat like 3 of those for breakfast, and then do a couple other things with it. For lunch, we usually had what we called our pocket snacks. We would do Slim Jims and nuts and cheese or peanut butter crackers. We would have those. That would average somewhere around 400 to 450 calories. And then depending on what it was like during the day, I might eat a dinner or I might just snack at dinner. We did try to get, there was a deer up there. We did try to get quite a bit of, like I said, fat and calories in. This is where I'm at. So, Reptile did pretty good with his ramen bombs. We had quite a bit of those that were in Georgia that he started getting, and he pretty much ate those throughout the trail. But that's where we're at on our resupply costs. It was $610 and some change on those resupplies that we purchased while out on trail, not including what we had in our supply boxes. I did not tally up the supply boxes that we had purchased. I know we spent $200 on the backpack meals. Those were purchased for about 4 months probably. We knew eventually, I think it was around Thanksgiving of 2025, that we were going to go on this hike. So we really started purchasing things December 25 through February of 26. And then we went on trail.